This secret ends today. Her name is, I can't keep it hidden any longer. I've carried this weight for too long, let the silence stretch further than it ever should have. But today, it all comes to an end. Because some truths aren't meant to stay buried. Some names aren't meant to be whispered in the dark. And hers is a name that deserves to be spoken. The secret that changed everything. It started as something small. A glance that lasted too long. A conversation that should have meant nothing. A connection I never expected but couldn't ignore. And before I even realized what was happening, she was everywhere, in my thoughts, in my dreams, in the spaces between my breaths. But I couldn't say her name. Not out loud. Not when everything about her was supposed to be a secret. Because loving her, wanting her, meant breaking the rules. And I wasn't sure I was ready to do that. Why I kept quiet? Maybe I thought I was protecting her. Maybe I thought I was protecting myself. Because saying her name meant admitting the truth. It meant facing what I had been running from. It meant answering questions I wasn't sure I was ready to ask. But now, none of that matters. Because keeping her a secret has cost me too much. And I won't lose her to silence. Not anymore. This is the moment of truth. No more hiding. No more pretending. No more building cages out of silence and locking myself inside with all the feelings I never dared to speak. No more standing in the shadows, watching her laugh with others while I clench my fists, knowing her smile was the one thing I longed to claim but never could. I've lied for too long, to myself more than anyone else, convincing my own heart that it was better this way, that loving her from a distance was safer, kinder, nobler. But what nobility is there in love that hides? What safety exists in a heart that breaks quietly every night under the weight of its own denial? I look back now and realize I was never protecting her. I was shielding myself from the storm I thought the truth would bring. But storms are meant to be weathered, not avoided. And she was worth the chaos. She was worth every unspoken word, every ache, every stolen glance and sleepless night. She was worth the fall. It's strange how love builds itself in the silence, how it grows roots in the quietest spaces. I never expected her to become my secret sanctuary, but that's exactly what she was. I would walk through crowded rooms with a straight face, make jokes with hollow laughter, while deep down, every part of me screamed her name. Every decision I made was shaped by her presence or her absence. She became the measure of every moment. When I was with her, time blurred into something sacred. When I was away from her, every second stretched like a punishment. She didn't just exist in my life, she became the background music of every thought, the pause between every breath, the longing beneath every smile I forced. And still, I kept quiet. Still, I told myself I couldn't say her name. Because if I said it, if I brought that truth into the light, I'd have to deal with everything that came with it, the judgment, the questions, the changes. And I wasn't brave enough. I wasn't ready. But love doesn't wait for readiness. It arrives like a storm and stays like a fire, either you let it burn through you, or you let it consume you from within. I did the latter for too long. I remember the nights I'd replay our conversations in my head, every word dissected, every look memorized like scripture. I'd hold on to the sound of her voice like it was the only thing keeping me breathing. I'd imagine a world where I could reach out and pull her close without hesitation, where her name wasn't a forbidden melody on the tip of my tongue. And every time I closed my eyes, I'd see her, the way her fingers moved when she was nervous, the way her eyes sparkled when she spoke about something she loved. The way she made the entire world disappear just by existing in the same room. And I hated myself for not saying it sooner. For not screaming her name when my soul wanted to. For not standing up and saying, she is the one. She is the reason my heart still beats. Because that's the truth. She became the reason I held on when everything else felt meaningless. She was the light I denied myself in the name of fear, but not anymore. Today, I choose truth. Today, I rip the silence apart and throw the pieces to the wind. I choose her. I choose every risk, every consequence, every uncertain moment that might follow. Because the pain of losing her to secrecy is worse than anything honesty could bring. I've built a graveyard in my soul of all the things I never said, and I refuse to bury her name there too. Her name deserves to be spoken, not in whispers, not in the dark, but in the open, with pride, with love, with every bit of the reverence it deserves. She is not a secret. She is not a mistake. She is the most sacred truth I've ever known, and I won't spend another second acting like she's anything less. Let the world shake. Let it question. Let it rage. I will not silence my heart again, so here I am, standing on the edge of everything I've feared and everything I've longed for. My lips tremble. My hands shake. My breath catches in my throat. But my heart, it beats louder than ever. It screams her name in a language only love understands. And this time, I will not silence it. Her name is the beginning and the end of every sentence I've never dared to write, and finally, I speak it, because this secret ends today. Her name slips from my lips like a prayer I've never dared to say aloud. It trembles at first, soft and fragile, but once spoken, it gains strength, as if the very sound of it was always meant to echo through my soul. The moment it passes my tongue, the world doesn't end. The sky doesn't fall. But something inside me does shift, permanently. Irreversibly. It's as if a dam I didn't even know I'd built has finally broken. All the unshed feelings, the held back words, the suffocating restraint, everything rushes out in a flood. I say her name again, this time firmer, this time with all the weight it deserves. And it feels like freedom. It feels like I've finally stepped into the truth after years of living a lie. I whisper it to the wind, to the walls that once heard my silence. I speak it into the night, as if even the stars deserve to know her. Her name carries power, not just because of who she is, but because of what she means to me. It's a name that held me captive in silence, and now it's the key that unlocks me. I speak it again, like a lover's vow, like a confession long overdue. And each time I say it, I feel myself healing. I feel myself becoming whole. Because I've lived fragmented for too long, torn between what I feel and what I allowed the world to see. But not anymore. Her name is no longer a secret. It's a declaration. It's a revolution in my heart. I remember the first time I heard her name. It was just a word back then, just a syllable on someone else's tongue. I didn't know then what it would come to mean. I didn't know that one day, it would be the only name that mattered. But as days turned into moments shared, and moments turned into memories etched into my skin, her name transformed. It became the softest place I could rest and the sharpest ache I couldn't escape. And now, it's the most sacred thing I carry. Her name, once hidden, once guarded like a flame in the wind, now burns bright inside me, unstoppable, undeniable. I want to write it in the sky. I want to carve it into the bones of every story I tell. I want the world to know that I loved her in silence, but I choose to love her out loud. This isn't just about admitting how I feel. It's about reclaiming every piece of myself that I gave away to fear. It's about facing the shame that was never mine to carry.